thing about Klaus isn't just that it's a fun retcon of the Santa Claus story. How did Santa Claus come to exist? It's also a story about growing up. And that's a subject that's, naturally on the minds of young people when they arrive at wondering whether Santa Claus is real or not. And what does it really mean to them when we tell them things like, well, Santa is a state of mind. This movie takes a protagonist who is not Santa Claus, by the way, but someone who has a need for Santa to be real, and through their sheer force of will, creates him in somebody else. Selfishly at first, but that's, where a good story always shines. When a character sets out to get what they want, but winds up instead getting what they need, and maybe helping a few other characters get there along the way. Klaus opens with a completely deplorable character, Jesper, the privileged, self-centered, lazy son of the wealthy postmaster, however that is supposed to work. And he's got everything handed to him. He enjoys luxury and idleness and has never really had to try at anything. So he doesn't care when he washes out at everything. His cush life is always there to fall back on. And he's played perfectly here by Jason Schwartzman, who adds something endearing to a character who we'd otherwise feel conditioned to dislike. He brings out that immature nature in him that we all have buried away somewhere. I mean, who doesn't want a life of warm, cozy sheets and great food brought to them all the time? Who doesn't want their every need to instantly be attended to? But his dad here sees the problem in his son and ships Jesper out to a place called Smeerensburg, a remote land with a bleak landscape and a lawless, feuding population, to establish a functioning post office. Otherwise, he loses everything. Now, this is a true nightmare for Jesper, as he arrives to find the task is virtually impossible. He needs to post 6,000 genuine pieces of mail to make his goal and get home. But no one in Smeerensburg can read or write, and the town is basically divided into two clans, at war with each other since olden times, making their eternal feud the only thing that really matters in Smeerensburg. Jesper meets a wayward teacher, Alva, who's been sort of marooned here for years, turning her schoolhouse into a fishmonger's shop just to survive, since no one is interested in education. And the kids just grow up to renew the casualties. And then there's the old mysterious woodsman, Klaus, played by J.K. Simmons, who lives even more remotely, shrouded in mystery. He's not Santa, not yet, but a damaged soul, we find out, after the loss of his dreams of starting a family with his now departed wife. There's not much hope for Jesper here to make it out, and the ferryman who hangs around Jesper and twists the knife now and then, is voiced by Norm Macdonald, very funny, just makes the entire situation feel completely untenable. But Jesper discovers one small thing about people that he can use in his favor, and that's a basic truth, that children aren't born hating other children just because of their names, for instance. They learn that. And once Jesper and Klaus deliver one of Klaus's toys, he's a toy maker on the side, to a little boy who asks for it, he's then spotted playing by a little girl from the opposite clan. So he shares it, and the two kids start to play together. Now, this simple act of basic human nature sets off alarm bells for both clans, but even as the inner circles panic, more and more kids and then their parents begin to treat the other clan members with at least some civility, which grows into peacefulness and tolerance. The usually scheduled brawls between the clans begin to diminish, until finally the heads of the two clans are forced to form a temporary truce to uncover the source of all this togetherness and find a way to destroy it. And what do they discover? Klaus and the mailman are at the center of it all. Klaus has been duped of course, by Jesper into bringing toys in response to any kid who will write him a letter with a sad story about how it might improve their lot in life. Jesper can't keep up with helping all these illiterate kids with their writing, so kids start turning up at the schoolhouse to ask Alva to teach them. Alva starts to remember why she became a teacher in the first place and begins to accept Jesper, finally fall for him. And Klaus keeps on delivering toys. And when they run out, a neighbor village of sort of fancy-dressed folks respond to Klaus's kindness by beginning to work with him to make new toys in response to new letters. And when the more mischievous kids cause Jesper a problem, he then invents Klaus's naughty list, further defining and chipping away at the story of Santa Claus as it eventually evolves into something that we might recognize today. But at the heart of it is a lie. Jesper, of course, never cared about the people of Smerensburg, or the kids, or Klaus, or Alva, for that matter, at least not at first. And when the clan elders figure it all out, Jesper is outed and he loses everything. The entire brief experiment in human kindness looks like it might be lost forever. In other words, there goes Christmas. Alva feels used. Klaus has his old wounds from losing his wife laid bare again, and the new town détente is on thin ice. So I won't spoil the ending, especially, but like a smart person once said, a good story's ending is always surprising, but also inevitable somehow. So it is here with Klaus. But what I love the most about this film, aside from the wonderful 2D animation that plays for all the world like 3D, it's quite something, is that it really feels like a story for all ages, even for an older group, despite being pretty much accessible and appropriate for young kids. Because, like a good Christmas movie, it speaks to the core kid in us all. You know, so many people find themselves at some point in uncharted waters, surrounded by people maybe they don't understand or connect with at first. Maybe you've moved across country like I did at one point in your life and just felt like you were starting over from the inside. A place where you just need to put one foot in front of the other and rely on your inner instinct, much of which you begin to suspect perhaps maybe was wrong and maybe has been responsible for your getting nowhere before and having to whittle away at a past idea of who you are while starting to experience and become that new person. And eventually, knowing yourself a little, it can lead to others finding that person inside of you too. It sounds trite maybe, but it's a valuable thing for a young person, I think, to not take for granted that you've got it all figured out in your little pond, especially when you're also having trouble understanding why, nothing's really worked out for you before. This movie made me wish, that I'd lived in the dorms in college, for instance. I have to imagine a lot of this sort of growth probably happens when you're first exposed to newness on all sides. Newness from different viewpoints, cultures, values, suddenly opening you up to 100 different ways to be human, instead of that openness creeping in little by little later in life. But however we come by it, and however you might help your kids come by it, as long as you get there, I guess, is what counts. Hopefully you don't have to ship them off to somewhere like Smerensburg before they start to arrive at that place within. Klaus has always just been sort of sitting there on my Netflix queue, waiting for me. I've always been curious about it. I'm glad I finally clicked on it. It's kind of a fun, worthwhile movie, and definitely worthy of your next family night if you haven't seen it yet. Okay, that's all I really have to say about Klaus. It's a good movie. I hope you'll watch it. Let me know in the comments if you do and what you thought about it. Happy holidays, and I'll see you soon.